jury sworn in the case now on trial will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Please state your name for the record.
Katherine Linden Riedy.
Could you spell your first and last name, please?
First is Katherine. Last is Riedy.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ms. Riedy.
Mm-hmm. Good afternoon.
I hate to start here, but how old are you?
I'm 22 years old.
And where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
And does your family still live there?
Mm-hmm.
And did you go to college?
I'm currently attending the University of Rhode Island.
And what do you study?
I'm a communication studies major.
Okay. And you know why you're here today?
Yes, because I witnessed the events.
Yes. So let's take you back,
Mhm.
June 23rd, 2021. Remember that date?
Mm-hmm.
And where were you coming from then?
I was coming from the train station that's near URI because me and Ciara had been down to visit my family. So.
And Ciara is who to you?
She is my girlfriend.
And who was picking you up?
Her dad.
And do you remember what kind of car he was picking you up in?
It was like a green car. I think it's a Subaru. I'm not good with cars though.
Okay. And you got in that car?
Mm-hmm.
And this is between 7:30 and 8. Direct your attention to.
Probably around then.
Okay. Well, you got in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you get in the car? And where did you sit?
So I got in the car at the train station near URI, and then I was sitting on the driver's side in the back seat.
And where was Ciara?
She was in the passenger seat.
Front?
Mm-hmm.
And who was driving?
Her dad was driving.
So you were right behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, you're saying, and I know what you mean,
Yes.
but just because we have a record here and
Mhm.
everything's being typed,
Yes.
you have to say yes.
Okay. Yes.
That's what you mean by
Yes.
Excellent. All right, so Mr. Linden heads out
Yes.
with you two in tow.
Yes.
And do you remember what route you take?
I'm not sure. He might have taken the highway, but he does go the back road a lot.
Okay.
But in either case, we would have come onto Route 3, like near the exit of I-95, because when he takes the back roads, it's the road right next to that he comes off.
Okay. And what happened when you crossed over I-95 and came upon a pizza place? Let me ask you this.
Mhm.
Wicked Good Pizza, are you familiar with that?
I've never been inside the restaurant, but I would pass it like several times a week the entire time I lived in Coventry, so I know where it is.
Okay.
Mhm.
So where were you guys headed?
We were heading back home. We, at the time, all three of us lived on Hill Farm Road, so it's like kind of around the corner from there.
Not far from the pizza place?
Not far.
Okay. And so you passed that pizza place a number of times already?
Yes.
All right. But never been inside?
I had not been inside, no.
All right. So tell us what happens as you approach that.
So we are coming down the road, coming from the direction of I-95 towards, if you're familiar with the area, there's a Dollar General and like a traffic light at the other end of like the road. So we come off onto the News Neck Hill Road, which is also Route 3, and we're driving down, and I think I'm the one who saw him first. I'm not quite sure, but I remember I saw a car kind of parallel to the road as we're approaching the pizza place, and a man who was wearing like a white t-shirt and a hat ran in front of the car, and I saw him kind of like jump the hood of the car almost, and then go to the driver's side window, and then pull out a gun, and at that point I ducked.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let me back up just a little bit.
Yes.
Do you remember what lane of travel you were in as you headed down Route 3?
I don't remember specifically, no.
Okay. And your first memory coming down, your first memory of coming upon this situation,
Yes.
what drew your attention to it, if you remember?
I saw the man run in front of the car, and if you see someone run in front of a car, that's not usually going to end well. So I was like, oh my goodness, there's someone like running right into where there's a car.
What did you think at that moment was going
I was afraid that if the car was moving, it was going to hit him, but I couldn't see much of what was going on at that point.
When you saw the man running to the car, could you see the expression on his face at all?
No, he had like a baseball cap on. It was pulled kind of low, and also at this point we were still like approaching it, so I couldn't see his exact facial expression.
Could you remember anything about the way he was clothed other than the baseball cap?
He was wearing a baggy white t-shirt, and that's about all that I remember of his clothing.
And that car, when you came upon it, you said it was, do you remember what the car looked like at all?
Again, I'm not really good with cars, and it was a very split-second kind of thing, so I don't remember what it looked like.
You remember, was it a dark color, light color?
No, I remember it was like, it looked like I think it's called a sedan, like that kind of shape. I remember the shape.
Okay. So a regular four-door car?
Yes.
With a trunk?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
In other words, not a hatchback hood?
No.
All right. And so, at any point, did you see that car backing up, or did you only see that car come to a stop?
I couldn't tell you like how it was moving because we were also moving and I saw it so quickly before I ducked. So I couldn't tell you what direction it was moving or whether it was moving at all.
Okay. But you said it was, by the time you took notice of it and your earliest memory of it, is that it was parallel to Route 3.
Yes. And
which direction was it facing? Was it facing the direction you were going?
Yes.
Okay. So towards Coventry?
Yes.
And as you're coming upon it, we've already seen the video of the green Subaru.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And what's your best recollection as to how far away you were from that car that was parallel to Route 3?
I remember it being about like one car width apart. So we were like fairly close.
Okay. And could you tell if that car was in the parking lot or on the shoulder or in the lane of travel of Route 3?
It was either in the lane or on the shoulder. It definitely wasn't still like in the parking lot.
Now, you said you saw this man come out and run around to the hood.
Yes.
Which side of that car did you see him come around? Was it the driver's side or was it the passenger side that he initially came around?
He came around from the passenger side because that was the side that was facing the pizza shop. So he came like from the driveway of the pizza shop to the passenger side. And then it looked like when he reached the hood, he kind of like hopped over, like used it to leverage himself over the hood around to the driver's side window.
Okay. And as he's coming around from the right side of the car, the passenger side, to the left side of the car, the driver's side, was it one continuous movement or did he stop or something different?
It looked pretty continuous. He was moving pretty quickly and it looked like he kind of like leveraged himself over the hood.
And by leverage, what do you mean?
Like placed his hand on the hood to use it to like move himself faster almost, if that makes sense.
So did you just see one hand on the hood of that car or did you see two?
I think I saw one. Well, I couldn't see it quite clear. It looked like that's what he was doing from like being able to see his body moving, and I think I saw one hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
In fact, you described it earlier and said he put his hand on the hood and jumped over.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Is that?
Yeah. Like I don't think he jumped like over the hood, but kind of like around like the corner, not like fully over. Like if this is the hood, he didn't go like that, but he went like maybe like that.
Not sure I appreciate the distinction. Okay, if you're the driver,
yes.
all right, passengers over here.
Yeah.
He came from this direction where the judge is.
Yeah.
And he came around.
So like
the
the
front.
hand would have been like here, and it would have been like kind of around the corner.
I see.
Yes.
Now, at some point, you saw a firearm.
Yes.
Tell us where, in what you've already described, where you saw the firearm and where it came from.
So I saw him pull out the firearm after he had reached the driver's side window. He was within touching distance of the driver's side window at this point. And this was like basically the exact moment that our car was passing this car. So I was like literally looking like directly out of my window, and I saw him reach kind of into his back pocket area underneath the baggy t-shirt and then pulled out a weapon. And at that point I think I said like, oh my gosh, there's a gun. And then I ducked.
Okay. And approximately, we're going to use this witness box as the car.
Mm-hmm.
If he came around here, put the hand here, came around the side, at what point did you see the firearm come out?
When he was right next to the driver's side window.
Okay, so approximately here?
Yes.
And
except he would have been closer.
Closer?
Yes.
And did you see where he pulled it from?
I don't remember whether it was the right or left side, but it was from his back pocket area.
And you remember the white shirt he was wearing?
Yes.
And it came from underneath there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I imagine he had some sort of holster that I couldn't see.
Okay. And did you see him, show us how that firearm, how he pulled it out?
Like stand up and show?
Please.
Mm-hmm. So if this is like the shirt, again, I don't remember which hand exactly it was, but he would have reached underneath it and then pulled out the firearm. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what did he do once that firearm came out? I know you don't know which hand. I'm going to use my right hand for simplicity because I'm a righty.
Mm-hmm.
But came out, and
Mm-hmm.
what did he do with it before you ducked down in your seat?
So I remember him kind of pulling it out and then kind of swinging forward. It was as he was swinging forward that I ducked.
Okay.
And then I heard a gunshot, like basically immediately after I ducked.
Okay. So did you see him aim that gun or level it or shoot it in the air or shoot it in the ground?
No, I didn't see him where he shot it exactly because I ducked before the gun went off.
Okay. So you just saw it come out,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
hit the dirt.
Yes.
And again, if you're the driver, it's that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're seeing this happen,
Mm-hmm.
when you're
Yes.
seeing him come around the left side of that car and coming somewhere over here. Oh, excuse me. No, you're fine. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
For the record, I got too close to the sheriff. And I lost my train of thought. I remember now. So, where was the car when you were when you saw that firearm come out?
It was still parallel to the road in front of the parking lot of the pizza place. It didn't look like it had moved much from when I first saw it, but it was only like a very quick moment that I could see it.
Okay. And how about your car? Where was your car?
Our car was, at the moment that the gun came out, basically right next to the other car, so they would have been almost exactly lined up from what I could tell. And then we continued moving. That road, I think, is about 45 miles an hour, so we passed it again pretty quickly.
Okay. And so, am I correct in saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, that when you're passing by that car and the firearm comes out, his back is towards your car?
Yes.
As you passed by, did you hear anything that was said from that
No.
situation?
No.
You didn't hear anything from the shooter?
If I heard anything, I don't remember it.
Okay. And then how soon after you put your head beneath the seat, how soon after did you hear the report from that firearm?
Basically immediately. I was probably still like in the process of fully getting down.
You described the man's movements as very aggressive towards the car. What did you mean by that?
Like he was holding a firearm out while, like, he was, like, within arm's reach of it, and it looked almost like he was, like, trying to reach towards it.
Towards
like,
what?
Like, towards the car, like he was trying to, like, grab it or something.
Is that just when he's on the side, or was that when he was on the front as well?
As I mentioned, it looked like he kind of, like, leveraged himself over the car, so again, he was, like, kind of grabbing at it.
So when you say aggressive towards the car, you mean?
Yeah. Like, he's, like, running at it, like, pretty quickly. And there shouldn't have been anything, from what I could see, within his field of vision between himself and the car. So it seemed, not to speculate too much, but it seemed intentional that he was running in front of the car.
What do you mean by that? Why do you say there wasn't anything between him and the car?
There weren't any other cars that I remember seeing in the area. And the parking lot, if you've seen the video, you might have seen that it's a pretty open parking lot. It's just kind of the pavement and then the road. So there's not any trees or anything that could have been in the way where he wouldn't have been able to see it.
So you're saying that you saw him run in front of that car?
Yes.
And you can't come up with a reason?
No.
Okay. And after you passed by,
Mm-hmm.
how long did you have your head down after you heard the shot?
I remember looking up, like, once, like, still kind of ducking, but peeking out the back window behind me while we were still driving down the road. Like, I think this was, like, in between driving down and before the 911 call was made. And seeing the other car pulled over a little bit further up the road.
What other car are you talking about?
The car that had been shot into.
You
Yes.
saw that pull up on
Yeah, it looked like it had pulled up a little bit further down the road because I could still see it while we were driving. And then later we pulled off somewhere to make the 911 call. And at that point I came back up because I felt like it was like we were far enough away by then.
And who called the 911, the police?
Ciara's dad, James Linden.
You said in your earlier statement that you gave, I believe it was on June 30th, about a week after this happened?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
On the 30th, so about a week after?
Yes.
Where did you give that statement to the police?
I gave it at, on the URI campus.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you sat down with the detective?
Yes.
And some URI security as well?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Police security.
Yes.
And I believe in that statement you said you heard maybe one, maybe two
Yes.
shots.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Explain that for us, will you please?
So when I was there, I was pretty sure that I had heard two loud noises that sounded like shots. Later when I was, because I am dating Ciara, who is one of the other witnesses we were talking about, and she only heard one shot and the news only said one shot. I think I heard an echo, or maybe it was just like my panic response brain hearing a second shot or something. But I did think I heard two shots at first. Human brains are weird.
That's okay. And even in that interview, you say it may
Yes.
have been an echo, right?
Yes.
Okay. When you sat down, you recognize that?
Yes.
Your Honor, this is States 34. Any objection to full on 34? All right, you recognize that, States 34.
Yes.
What is that?
That is the drawing that I made when I was sitting down giving my testimony of what was happening at the time of the shooting.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay. And that's your name in the top right?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to have you orient us here.
Mm-hmm.
This here?
That is Route 3.
Okay. Up here?
That is the pizza shop.
All right. And this is the parking lot in front?
Yes.
And whose car? This is a car?
That is our car, and then the circle inside of it is approximately where I am located.
This circle here?
Yes.
Okay.
So
And then
back-
this is the front of the car?
Yes. And
That's
we're,
that.
yes.
All right. You have it situated in the left-hand lane here. I don't know if you did that on purpose or...
Yeah, I think I said when I was drawing that I wasn't quite sure whether it would have been in one lane or the other. But I just knew we would have been approximately like, if I was in that lane, they would have been in the other lane, or if we were in the other lane, they would have been on the shoulder, something like that, with distance.
Okay. And then what is this right here?
So that is the other car, and then the man in front of the car is the suspect, I guess. And then you can see a little thing in his hand, and that's supposed to represent the gun.
This little mark
Yes.
here?
Yes.
Okay. This is the front of the car, this is the rear of the car, correct?
Yes.
And this is the direction it was facing?
Yes.
Okay, so this here, what's this here?
I think that was an attempt at a windshield. Again, I'm not good at cars.
You're not good at cars, okay.
No.
And this line here, what is that?
I think that was just, I drew the pizza shop first before drawing the car, so that was already there.
Okay. So, okay. So if this is the edge of the parking lot, if you recall, was the car at the edge of the parking lot in your recollection?
Either like on the shoulder right near the edge, or in the lane still right near the edge of the parking lot. The entire time that I was looking at it until I peeked back, it was somewhere situated near the parking lot in front of it.
Okay. So you have it in the lane of travel, it appears,
Yeah.
from your drawing.
Mm-hmm.
But it could have been over?
It could have been in the shoulder.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. And the man here,
Yes.
where do you have him situated here? What is right in front of him?
The driver's side window would have been right in front of him. So if I'm the driver in the car, he would have been right there.
And you just, again, motion to your left, which would have
Yes.
been about a 90-degree angle
Yes.
from you, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's the last position you saw him in, the man.
Yes.
So I'm going to just have a moment here.
Yes.
Finally, Ms. Riedy, you drove up, or the car drove up, and pulled over, correct?
When I peeked backwards.
You said
You
you
mean?
peeked backwards.
Yeah,
and the
I
car-
saw it was like pulled up further down. Yeah, so at that point, when I peeked backwards, I don't think I would have been able to still see it on the side of the road if it was still by the pizza shop, because we had gone down far enough. So I think that it had moved up a little bit in between then and when I saw it.
And where did you guys go? Where did your Subaru go? Three of you in it.
If I remember correctly, after that we pulled off to the side of the road near where the traffic light is, near the Dollar General, if you see a map. It's like down the road from there, basically. I don't think we went all the way home before we called anyone.
And you think you called 911 from there?
We did, yeah.
For Ciara's dad?
Yeah.
And you heard that phone call?
Yes.
And where did you go from there after the phone call?
After the phone call, we just went straight home, I believe.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Riedy, I need to ask you some questions about this matter as well, okay?
Yep.
Now, I want to bring your attention to the moment you saw him begin to draw his weapon,
Yes.
okay?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
At that moment, the Audi was driving toward him, and your first reaction was, the man was about to...
I never
get
said
hit.
that the car was driving towards him. I said that I could not see whether the car was moving in any direction because I saw it so quickly.
At the moment you saw him draw the gun,
Yes.
you thought, your impression was the man was going to get hit by the car.
I thought the man might get hit by the car when I saw him running towards the front of the car. Not when I saw him draw the gun. At that point, he was already to the side. He had already run in front of the car and had passed the line of what would have been danger if the car had been moving.
Okay. You want a Z3 for identification? Z3 for identification is a copy of your statement.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you can go to question 69. 69-7 on page 12.
Yes.
All right, question 69. Okay, is that vehicle moving at the time he draws his firearm? Answer, yeah. As I said at the beginning, I was like pretty sure that like at first he was going to get hit, which is my first panic response.
So
Okay.
I don't know exactly where it is. I don't have this memorized, but I do say in another part of my testimony, I remember when I reread it, that I wasn't sure whether the vehicle was moving or how fast it was moving.
I'm asking you about the speed. I'm asking you at
Okay.
the moment you see the firearm drawn, your first quote panic response was that you thought the man was going to get hit.
I think when I heard that question, I misheard what he was saying because my first panic response was he was going to get hit. Wait, no, I'm trying to remember when I got interviewed. I'm sorry. Do I have a moment? Yes.
The question was, okay, is that vehicle moving at the time he draws his firearm? Now that's a pretty clear question, isn't it?
Yes.
And you're in the communications business, you just told us that.
I started that major after this interview, but yes.
All right, so words are important to you, too?
Yes.
Okay. So, are you saying you misunderstood the question or you gave an inaccurate answer?
I'm saying that when I saw someone run in front of the car, I thought that he might get hit. And I'm also saying that I saw it very quickly, so I cannot comment on whether the car was moving exactly. And I may have been panicked in this interview because I was being interviewed about a shooting that I saw.
Well, if you were panicked in the interview a week after, you must have certainly been panicked a night of at the moment you saw it, right?
I did indeed see a gun get pulled, yes.
That wasn't my question.
Yes.
You were panicked, yes, you were panicked at the moment, right? On the moment of the...
Yes, that is why I ducked.
Right. We'll get to that in a moment. You guys are driving home, that nice visit with your parents, right? True?
With my parent, yes.
Coming home, on the way home, right?
Yes.
Normal ride down the street, true?
Yes, we were going down Route 3.
And all of a sudden, you see a car near the road. At one point, you see a man in front of the car, see a gun come out. Now that had to be, that's an unusual moment for you, right?
Yes.
Panic starts kicking in, true?
Yes.
All right, no more fun and games anymore, just driving home after a nice visit. This is a whole different scenario, right?
Yes.
So what you see here and remember may not be so accurate anymore, is it?
I will not say that because I saw him pull out a gun, and we all know that someone got shot right after that. And that is what I am saying.
You didn't know that at the time. What you knew was you were in a panic state, observing in that state of mind, right?
The panic began after I observed him run in front of the car and then pull out a gun. So I will say that my observation before that, to the best of my ability, was accurate.
You say you saw him walk in front of the car. Did you see the car?
I immediately corrected and say ran in front of the car, for the record.
For the record.
Yes.
Well,
I saw him run.
The jury has seen the record, they've seen the video, and I can suggest to you he was never running down that driveway.
Objection.
Did you ever see the man running down that pathway?
The video stops before we see him go in front of the car because they both go out of frame. I saw him run.
I'm not talking about what you see on video. You say you saw him
I
run
saw
that
him run.
night?
I saw him run.
Okay. You saw him move, and you saw him moving in a hurried response. True?
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Was he going forwards or sideways?
Like, you mean as he went in front of the car?
When you saw him moving in a hurried response, he was going, you said, from passenger side across the front toward
Yes.
the driver's corner.
Yes.
Right. Was he going sideways or was he going forward or backwards? The man.
I don't remember clearly whether he was going sideways or forwards.
You just know he was moving fast,
Yes.
in a hurried pace,
Yes.
right? In a pace someone might use if they were trying to get out of the way of that vehicle, right?
Well, he was running before he was in front of the vehicle.
You sure about that?
I saw him run in front of the vehicle.
Okay. When in front of the vehicle, my only question was, he moved in a hurried pace, as someone might do if they were trying to get out of the way of that vehicle, right?
As I said earlier, I saw him run in front of the vehicle, and then when he was in front of the vehicle, it appeared that he used his hand to leverage himself the rest of the way over.
Question to you was, he moved in a fashion that someone might move in if they were trying to get out of the way of that vehicle, right?
If someone was trying to get out of the way of the vehicle, yes, I would imagine they would move fast.
Right. You don't know what's in anyone's mind at the time you're just driving by, right?
Yes.
And then you get into this panic state, true?
Yes.
And it was at that moment that he quickly came around that front corner, drawing the weapon.
He drew the weapon after he was already on the driver's side.
Let's go back to question 69-7. Question 69, okay, and is that the vehicle moving at the time he draws his firearm? Answer yes, yeah. As I said in the beginning, I was like pretty sure that like at first he was going to get hit, which is my first panic response. Question, is that when he comes around the front? Answer, yeah. He like comes around the front. It's like he then very quickly comes around the front, draws the gun, like there wasn't really much of anything to happen in that time. Right? I read that correctly.
Yes,
When
that's what he
someone
says.
comes around the front, this is the front of the car.
Yes.
You're talking about the corner of the car.
Yes.
And that's when he's drawing his weapon.
I saw him draw his weapon when he was at the driver's side window.
If that's not what you said, you probably said it. You said he
I said it's, then he quickly comes around to the front, comes around the front, so he comes around the front, then draws the gun. That is question 70.
The preceding question 69 asked you about the moment when he drew his firearm. That's when you answered about him coming across the front of the car. It's so much so that you felt he was going to get hit. That's what
Question
you said.
68 says he draws his weapon at the driver's side window. Do you happen to see what, okay. So previously I had already said that he draws his weapon at the driver's side window. And then later again I say he comes around the front and draws his weapon. So that had been after he had come around the front and he was on the driver's side.
You said that today too, that he drew his on the driver's side. I heard you, we heard you, I'm gonna question you a little bit about that. But here had some follow-up questions.
Yes.
You wanted clarity. And that's when you talk about going across the front of the car.
Yes, I say he crossed the front of the car, and then after that I say he draws his firearm. So I was saying he comes around the front of the car, and then after that happened, he drew the firearm.
I want to get off this question. The
Yes.
question was, they were asking you when you drew the firearm. And that's when you said,
Objection, that is
Okay.
not the question, 69.
just read question 69 out loud.
Okay, is that vehicle moving at the time that he draws his firearm?
And then read your answer.
Yeah, as I said at the beginning, I was pretty sure that at first he was going to get hit, which is my first panic response.
Okay. And you also described on a prior occasion the man jumping out from in front of the car, right?
That's, I think, the word I was using to describe what I saw when it seemed like he had leveraged himself over the hood almost.
Just take a look at read yourself, and I'll ask you a question. At question number 11 at page 2,
Yes.
lines 6 to 8. Have you found that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you could say the dude jumped out right next to the car. And I was like, oh my gosh, the dude's going to get in front of the car. Right?
Yes.
Now you use the word jump in that location. Right?
I think that's what I meant when I was describing him going in front of the car. So I saw him move from one spot into the front of the car and then jump around the corner to the driver's side. Where then
Someone jumping around the corner of a car is also the action of someone, might be the action of someone wanting to get away from that car, right?
But then immediately afterwards, I saw him go to the driver's side window and pull out a gun.
Someone jumping from out in front of a car might be the action of someone wanting to get out of the path of that car, right?
Yes, it might be.
You also described it as a very energetic step.
Yes.
Again, the reaction of someone trying to move quickly, right?
Yes.
You told us about ducking and looking away just before you really shot. You said that.
Yes.
Under that, right? Now, the last thing you actually saw, was him going around, jumping out from the front, around that corner, pulling out the weapon, and then you ducked, right?
Yes.
Okay. So he wasn't at the driver's side, he was up at that front corner.
No, he was at the driver's side by the time he pulled out the weapon. He was at the side of the car, not in front of it, when he pulled out the weapon.
So let's take a look at question 50 to 51. On page 9.
Yes.
Question 50, okay, So you said that the man, described how he's moving with the vehicle. Answer. I saw him just like go around the front. Question, is he running? Is he walking? Answer, he's like running, kind of like very energetic in his step, and then swung the gun out, and that's all I saw. Then I ducked.
Yes,
That
that is.
seems to suggest you ducked when he swung out with that very energetic step around the front corner of that vehicle.
So as I said, he,
Does that sentence seem to suggest you last saw him at the front corner of the vehicle?
I said he went around the front. After you have gone around something, you are now at the side of it.
Well, that's obvious.
Yes.
Go around something, you want to be on the side of it. Especially if that car is moving, you want to be on the side of it, first at the fender, then at the doors, then at the trunk, and then the car's way behind you, right?
Yes.
And in your panic state, you may have looked back and saw him at the side of that car after the incident happened.
I did not see him when I looked back.
Wasn't that your focus of attention once this event started to unfold?
By the time I had ducked, so I saw him move around the front of the car to the side of the car by the driver's side window. I believe another part of my statement, I said it looked like he was grabbing the side of the door when I was flipping through. And then I saw him pull out the gun while he was at the driver's side window, and then I ducked, and then as I said earlier, we moved forward quite a bit, and then when I looked back, it looked like the car had moved to another part of the road, and I did not remember seeing anyone standing at the car at that point.
You've discussed this with Ciara between now and then, and between then and today, correct? What you saw?
We've avoided discussing details since we've known that we were going to be called into here.
I didn't ask if you discussed detail. I simply said if you discussed it with Ciara before, from then to now.
We have discussed it, yes.
Now, so the last thing you claim you saw
Yes.
was the man standing on the side of the car, right at the driver's window.
Yes.
Very close, you said.
Yes.
Maybe a foot away,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So that means it's backwards to you, true?
Yes.
And that's right when you were passing by, correct?
Yes.
Right. And that's the moment you ducked.
Yes.
Right. So clearly you ducked out of fear.
Yes.
You didn't want to get shot,
Yeah.
which means you saw the barrel of the gun.
No, I saw him pull the gun out.
Aiming in the complete opposite direction you were, right?
If I see a gun get pulled out, I am going to duck. And I ducked. I didn't care whether it was pointed at me or if I saw it pointed somewhere else. I didn't see him point it before I ducked. I just saw him pull it out and then I ducked.
Because you were concerned you could get shot.
If I see a gun get pulled out, I am going to be concerned that I would get shot, yes. And I saw a gun get pulled out.
Whether it's pointing at you or not.
Yes.
Okay. So you only heard one shot, right?
As I said, I thought I heard 2 shots. Later, other people told me they only heard 1 shot, so I believe it might have been an echo or something. I'm not sure.
And shortly after that, you were present when Mr. Linden got out of the vehicle and checked his vehicle for gunshot damage.
I believe he checked his vehicle for gunshot damage after we had returned to the house. I don't remember him leaving the vehicle in between that incident and getting back home.
Doesn't really matter when, does it? You were present when he checked his vehicle for gunshot damage.
Yes.
And by then, you clearly knew there was only one shot.
Actually, I'm not sure at that point I knew there was only 1 shot. I don't remember how much we had discussed on our way back home. It's only a short drive.
So all the way from there to the house, no one said how many shots it was.
I don't remember.
You also thought the bullet might have hit you, right?
As I said, I don't remember. I did not see where the gun was pointed when it went off because I had ducked.
But you heard a shot.
I did hear a shot.
And later, when you checked the car, you were also under the impression the bullet might have hit your car.
Yes, I thought it might have been possible.
And the only way it might have been possible is when you last saw the gun seeing that there was only one shot, that barrel of the gun had to be facing somewhat in your direction. That is true, is it not?
I didn't see the gun when it went off because I had ducked, so I cannot say whether it was pointed in any direction.
Why would you think it might have hit your car later on when you got home and checked the vehicle?
Because I was right next to it when the gun went off. And I did not see where the bullet went because I had ducked. At that point, it could have gone anywhere.
You said it was a foot away from the driver's side of the car.
Foot away from their driver's side.
So in your mind, you're thinking he stopped aiming at the driver's side and turned around and aimed at you guys. Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I'm saying that I didn't see the direction the gun was pointed at when it went off because I had ducked already.
I know, but you thought that it could have hit your car, so in your mind, it was pointing at your car.
I said it was possible, not that I thought it did.
And the only way it could have been possible is for that barrel to have somewhere been facing the direction of your car, which it would have been as you approached the vehicle if the man was at the front corner. Correct?
An arm can move very quickly. In the time between when I ducked and his arm already in motion, it could have been pointed in any given direction. So I cannot say what direction it could have been pointed in when the gun went off.
Just getting to what you were thinking at the time.
If I flip a coin, I think it could land on either heads or tails. That doesn't mean that if I bet on heads, I'm saying that it was on heads. It means that that's what I'm betting on, right? Like, his gun could have gone off in any
The
direction.
jury needs precise information to make this decision. So we're not going to be flipping.
Just because I thought it was
Thank you, Josh.
okay.
You made no mistake about it. The Audi was parallel, you said? to your
Yes.
vehicle.
Yes.
Which means if you're accurate about him facing the driver's side, he's facing the direction of the pizza place, right?
Yes.
And you did see the vehicle at the very end of its backing up path as it went down the driveway?
I don't, at least at this time, I don't remember seeing it back out of the driveway. I just remember seeing it as it was parallel to the road already.
Question 40. It's on page 7. Question, do you know which end of the vehicle exited the parking lot onto the roadway? Answer. I could see it as it was like backing up and then like pulling back forward. That's like when I first saw the very end of the backup. Pull forward kind of movement. So like. So is that refreshing memory that you did see it backing up somehow?
That means that I probably did. As of now, I don't remember that though.
No.
It had happened a year and a half ago.
So you probably saw the very end of the backup.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So it was backing up
Yes.
and ended up parallel to the roadway.
Yes.
You would have to do like a kind of like a letter C.
I think, yeah, again, I don't remember. I feel like I remember doing something with my hand. It says I did something with my hands to demonstrate, but I don't remember what I was doing.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if you remember it being parallel.
Yeah,
And
I
you
do remember being
seeing
parallel.
the tail end of its backup pattern.
Yes.
So
I
it
got
was
you.
backing up to end up parallel. It had to kind of turn itself almost 180-degree motion, right?
It would depend on which direction it was backing up, what kind of backup it was due. Again, I don't currently remember seeing it.
Okay. It would have
How
to
it
turn
would back
itself
up.
in some direction
Yes.
to change its path from backwards to being parallel to the road.
Yes.
Okay. And you know that the man had come from the direction of the pizza place.
Yes.
Right? So as the car back and changed its direction to become parallel, and the man was following it, now the man would end up in front of the car, right?
The man did end up in front of the car, yes.
And you may have said this earlier, but you can't be accurate on the speed of the black car because you were moving at the same time.
Yes.
But you don't remember it ever coming to a stop, right?
I can't say whether or not I remember it coming to a stop.
Question 87, line 26.
Mhm.
Yeah. Question, would you say the vehicle was moving at that point? Answer, it was moving basically the entire time. Correct?
Yes. So then I guess at that point I had remembered it moving at some. Again, it happened a year and a half ago, and the vehicle's movements aren't the part I remember the
That's
most.
why I pointed to your prior statement. That
Mhm.
refreshes your memory, the vehicle
Yes.
was moving.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Ms. Riedy, you said the man came around front of that car
Yes.
from the passenger side
Yes.
and put himself in front of that car?
While he was moving around it, yes.
Mhm. Did you see anyone come up behind him and push him in front of that car?
No.
Was he moving under his own volition?
Yeah.
No one
It
was
looked like-
forcing him to run from the pizza place in front of a moving vehicle, were they?
Not that I could see. No.
No. Did you see him? With? Thank you, but I have nothing.
Let me step that. We're gonna break for the day, so I'm not sure we'll accomplish much more in the next half hour, so.